Yeah, I mean, apparently gay people can still have babies. I mean, Dave Rubin has what, two? I don't know how do they come out of his asshole? I don't, or do they come out of his penis? I don't know
Because
how.
because gay people like Dave Rubin and Pete Buttigieg believe in slavery. They think that you can buy other humans, and they do that. That's a real thing that happens.
Man,
They didn't
Dave
abolish
Rubin.
slavery. They just made it only for gays.
So I don't. This popped in my head. So thanks, Alan, for reminding
You're
me.
you're
But
welcome.
have you heard? Yeah, have you heard of this TENET Media thing that's popped up?
TENET Media. I don't think so.
TENET, yeah, like it's named like the movie from Christopher Nolan, TENET.
Mm-mm.
I don't know 100% who's behind it, but I know some of the people that are. I don't know if they're hosting shows or if they're just their content's going to be. I'm not 100% sure how it's going to go. But like big names like Tim Pool is part of it, Lauren Southern, Benny Johnson,
Big names.
big names.
Yeah.
Well, in the political world, I should say. Um, and our homeboy Dave Rubin is also a part of it. And I remember seeing all these kind of these interesting teasers where it's like purple lighting and it's dark, and then they show the face. They do like a thing like this. Right when they
Yeah.
go, right when they face forward,
Mm-hmm.
that's when the light comes on. Oh wow.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I saw Dave Rubin was on there, and they're having some kind of that usual political slogan of we're unfiltered and we're unafraid of what to say or whatever. And I'm thinking of all the people that are on there, the six that they listed,
Mm-hmm.
Dave Rubin's by far the safest, by far. I mean, look
So
at him now. He's tweeting about I'm the most pro-Israel guy ever.
yeah,
Oh man, that you're
yeah,
very scared.
yeah. I was just about to say. That list of names you just gave me tells me that is mid-wit echo chamber. So people that are like right between 110 and 115 IQ, who think that they know everything, who've never actually held a controversial opinion in their lives, will love that network. And those
Well,
people will not support any position that hasn't already been approved by whoever the fuck it is that funds them.
even with that, and with that being said, I still think of all of those, Dave Rubin's by far the safest. I mean, at least I'll give credit to, especially some of the names I've seen recently on like Timcast, where he'll have Dave DeCamp on. He'll
Mm.
he'll have he'll have people to come on who won't just be spewing pro-Israel talking points. So actually have someone come on and be like, "Well, I think something like this, or whatever." I think at least question it. I mean, Scott Horton was on there basically calling everyone there China hawks. It's just like
Yeah,
at
but see
least we'll
that's
have them on.
but see that's what's messed up about Tim Pool though. It's like, okay, so you're willing to give him a pat on the back because he'll have someone like Scott Horton on who is going to tell it like it is and say,
I'll
look,
give him a
all
pat on the back, but I'll also say I'm not saying his mind's going to be changed at all. At least he's having someone there to
yeah, but
stand.
that's
I don't know.
I don't know, but see, I don't know. This is just me being black pilled, I guess, is that I don't give him any credit at all because they will have
Yeah.
so if you have someone like Scott Horton on your show who openly and explicitly calls out you, your whole panel, and every guest you've had on for 6 months as being wrong, and then lays out an airtight case of all here's why you're wrong, and here's all the documented reasons why you're wrong, and the following episode they'll pretend like Scott wasn't there last week, and they'll
Yeah.
just go right back to their China hawk propaganda tomorrow, and it'll be like there was no absorption at all. Like you don't even confront the ideas. So on the one hand, like, is it cool that they have Scott on? Of course, it's cool that they have Scott on, but they're not really listening. It's just presentation. There's no actual. It's hard to say that there's no substance, even though someone like Scott was there. But I feel like that's kind of how it is. It's like they're just doing it for presentation. There's no actual substance. No one's
Yeah,
having
that's
a
a good point.
debate.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the big issues kind of in social media circles right now, right? Is that if we had to pick somebody to argue our side of the political, if we had to argue non-interventionist foreign policy, we'd have Scott Horton go and debate it. And every single time someone comes along who thinks that they know more than Scott, they'll just refuse to debate him, or, you know, kind of do this mealy mouth. Well, I'll go appear on the show without you, and here I'll lay out my totally industry approved conservative ink talking points, and then Scott can do his separately, and then we'll just go our separate ways. You know, Ben Shapiro is the big example. These people worship Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro has never won a debate against anyone who was older than 19 years old and didn't have purple hair. Never once has he won a debate against anyone over 19 years old without purple hair. And he refuses. He won't just not debate Scott Horton. He will continue to live in a mental prism where Scott Horton has never been born. He doesn't exist, much less debate him. And so Tim Pool's never going to come out and say that. He's never going to come out. He's not going to bite the hand that feeds and risk losing the support of kind of that other side of the right wing by saying, well, if you believe that, why don't you debate Scott Horton? Tim Pool's not going to do that. That ain't going to happen.
Yeah, wasn't Ben Shapiro just bragging recently that I shot this 20-year-old guy who was talking about how, you know, all this pro-Palestinian propaganda or whatever it was. It was like it was 2015. I was like, dude, come on, move on. Like, move
Ben
on to
Shapiro,
people who are your own size, basically 10-year-olds.
Ben Shapiro went on Joe Rogan and A, spewed a bunch of Zionist horseshit, and then B, said, I'm happy to defend my position and everything I just said against anyone who wants to debate. And from the moment those words came out of his mouth, it has been Scott Horton doesn't exist.
Yeah,
because he doesn't actually mean it. What Ben Shapiro, this is what he wants, and I'm not being facetious about this. This is what Ben Shapiro wants. He wants someone that he already knows, that he also already knows what their beliefs are and what their opinions are. He wants to know that he's smarter than them. And I'm not saying Ben Shapiro's stupid. He's not a stupid guy. He's wrong, but he's not stupid. Yeah. He's evil. He's not stupid. And but he also wants someone that actually doesn't differ from him that much. He wants someone who's like 5% further to the left than him, and he wants to then smash him and then take the glory. He doesn't want to actually go all to the other side of the political spectrum and debate anyone. If he's going to do that, he wants to debate a literal teenager. He doesn't want to. So like I'm trying to think of off the top of my head, like who's a relatively milquetoast right winger who has never shied away from supporting Israel, but also maybe is not like the biggest Zionist who ever lived. It's hard to even say because most of them will all just support Israel. But I mean, you know, like Ben Shapiro would debate that person. Like that Scott, the dude running for president, the black guy running for president. Shit, what's his name? Not Tim Scott. Is that his name?
Oh, Larry Elder.
Yeah, no, not Larry Elder. But no, they're bros.
But, oh no! When you said black person, I was like, wait, Tim Scott, Larry Elder. Is the only,
well, they're just all the same. It's hard for me to remember.
Okay, so this is like way off topic, but yeah. My wife and I were in a store one time, and I swear to motherfucking, there was a black guy who looked just like Tim Scott. Now I'm not saying all black people look alike.
Okay, that guy looked. It is Tim Scott. So Tim Scott, who probably doesn't differ from Ben Shapiro in terms of foreign policy by more than this, but perhaps maybe differs on Ben Shapiro a little bit when it comes to some relatively tame domestic policy. He'll debate him, and then they'll agree to disagree on three things, and then they'll both mutually agree that Israel is the kingdom of heaven, and then the audience will cheer, and Ben Shapiro people will cry and hand him flowers. That's the debate he wants. He wants to debate someone who's basically 5% from himself that he feels is inferior to him. He doesn't want to debate someone who's diametrically opposed and knows what they're talking about, and he won't. And if anything, it's just gaslighting that he would even go on Rogan and say that he wanted to, because he's just pissing people like us off, because he knows he's not going to. He knows he never will.
I mean, if it did end up happening, just do it at the Soho Forum, and if the money you get, you can put it into charity or something like that. I don't know. And like what Scott Horton did with Bill Kristol.
Yeah, but see that. See, I mean, don't get me wrong. I talked to Scott after after that. And I told him how great. I mean, everyone's talked to him about how great it was, but I've talked to him privately a couple of times about it and stuff. And I'm so happy it happened, and we all fucking hate Bill Kristol. I'm so glad that statistically he'll be dead soon. Like, isn't that just wonderful? But at the same time, I'm kind of sad about it, and I'll tell you why. Bill Kristol was so clearly not just wrong, but he was so clearly unprepared. I think that he's not an idiot. He knew who Scott Horton was, and he knew that Scott Horton was going to come out there swinging. And he basically felt like, I'm going into enemy territory, and it doesn't matter if I win or lose, because all these random libertarians and independents just don't matter. You know, my career is safe. So I don't think Bill Kristol really intended to try to win that debate. I'm not saying that he would have, no matter whether he tried or not. I'm just saying Bill Kristol basically just went through the motions. The problem with that is that Scott Horton so resoundingly embarrassed him, even to the relatively small audience of people who actually would know who the two people are, that there was a debate, watch the video, whatever. It was such an embarrassment for Bill Kristol that the next man up will not go in there. Like, if you're Ben Shapiro, as much as I'm shitting on Ben Shapiro, if I'm Ben Shapiro and my entire media empire is me talking really fast like the rat fuck that he is, and dunking on teenagers in college forums, if that's my entire base, why would I risk any cred whatsoever by going and having a Soho forum debate with fucking Scott Horton? The numbers aren't there for me. Why would I do it?
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I don't know. I think all the people that are trying to, because I see that at least once a day, someone go, Bill, hey, Ben Shapiro, why don't you go debate Scott Horton? And like you're saying, it's not gonna happen unless someone put like a massive amount of money in front of him. He may have the possibility of doing it, but even then.
The other problem is that there's too many degrees of separation. So like, when you or I see people, because who's people? When you or I see people that in our social media orbit saying, hey, at Ben Shapiro, you should debate you should debate Scott Horton. You should go on Joe Rogan or whatever with Scott Horton. He's not seeing those tweets because we're so far removed from his orbit. He does not know or care about what any of these people are saying.
He's verified too. He's probably not even looking at the non-verified tab. He's looking at just the verified tab. Who are the people who have and I know nowadays, like, having a blue check mark on Twitter doesn't really mean anything because you can just pay for it. But even still, 9 times out of 10, the people who have that blue check mark are going to be people in his orbit or people who he would most likely want to talk to.
It would require someone that he's like intimately familiar with, that he has some type of working relationship with. It would require someone like that, both having direct contact with Ben Shapiro publicly and also being familiar with Scott Horton, to go to him and say, would you do this? If not, will you at least go on record saying why you wouldn't or shouldn't or whatever? And that will never happen. Like, take Tim Pool as an example. And by the way, in the grand scheme of things, Tim Pool's a nobody. Like, everyone loves to mention Tim Pool. Tim Pool's a nobody. All these people are nobodies. But I'm a nobody. Scott Horton's a nobody. We're all nobodies in the mainstream world. All these people are nobodies. It's like, go touch grass. It was basically what I'm saying. But if Tim Pool knows Ben Shapiro and has ever met him personally or has his, email or phone number, if Tim Pool went to Ben Shapiro and said, hey, here's my buddy Scott Horton, you should debate him, that is only a risk for Tim Pool, because he's now risking his connection to a bigger celebrity by offering up something that he knows is not on his radar, that he doesn't want to do. If Ben Shapiro does know who Scott Horton is and has consciously decided, I would never step in a room with this man, then if you knew Ben Shapiro and he was your friend and he was going to come on the Hapitarians and you said, hey Ben, go on with Scott, he would then block you and you would never see him again.
Damn.
Because that's how these fuckers are. He's a coward. I mean, of course he's a coward because, he's one of them, but he's a coward.
Well, the example you were saying about he would debate Tim Scott and they would just argue over the dumbest shit. Like if they did talk about Israel, Ben Shapiro would say something like, "Yeah, I think the U.S. Congress should fork over, I don't know, $50 trillion to Israel." And Tim Scott goes, "That's a little too much. I think 25 trillion is enough." That's where the argument would be. How much money should we actually send to Israel? Not, I don't think we should send any money. Like, what's the point? Or whatever the argument would be on the other side.
See, I just looked that up just now because I was curious. So Ben Shapiro was born in Burbank, California. So he is obviously Jewish, but
he's a Californian.
He's a Californian, but I don't care about the state. The point being is he's an American. He was born in the United States. I don't care what his blood lineage is. He is a natural born citizen of the United States.
Yeah, but he's got the little.
Yeah, I know he's got. I wish they would put little propellers on him.
He's got the little.
But anyway, yeah, he's got the beanie. But I am fully in favor of if you're Ben Shapiro and you're a natural born citizen of the U.S. and you spend all day every day trying to browbeat people and browbeat government officials to give billions of dollars to Israel, he should be arrested for sedition and shot.
I'm gonna tag him in this when I send him this clip. Hey Ben, guess what? This guy said, I know he.
See if you can get Ben Shapiro to debate me, but the resolution is, affirmed. Ben Shapiro should be arrested for sedition and shot. Alan Mosley in the affirmative. Ben Shapiro will have to wait for his answer.
No, I was gonna jokingly say, no, shockingly, Shapiro goes for the affirmative for some reason. He thinks he's so smart, he's gonna be able to tell you why he should.
I mean, we had to do that when I was in college. When I was in college,
they do a debate where you had to go on the side that you don't actually.
Yeah, they actually, like, they would let you pick like topics and sides, but they would strongly encourage you to purposely side against whatever your own personal belief is, just as an exercise. I was in a debate when I was like 20 years old at Maryville College in East Tennessee, and we were debating like more drilling for oil in the US. And the other side were the typical bleeding heart liberal college students who were saying it's dangerous and it hurts the environment and blah 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 blah. I was on the side with a few of them, a few people who thought that way, but they were forced to be on the side of it's great and it's not dangerous, and look at all the great advancements in science and technology that makes it so minimally impactful to the environment, and look at the economic impact, blah blah blah. And not only did we win the debate, but by the time it was over, 2 of the 3 people on my team who went into it as like bleeding heart commies came out of it thinking, well, actually, I didn't realize it was so great. So it was actually an interesting exercise that, God forbid if you just, and the point wasn't necessarily to change their minds. The point was just, why don't you at least look at the difference? Why don't you at least look at the material and come to your own conclusion, rather than just a base assumption based on, well, we had World Day one time when I was in 3rd grade, and that taught me that oil is evil. I'm like, well, I don't know. A lot's happened since then. That's all I'm saying.
So maybe when Ben Shapiro goes in a debate with Scott Horton, he should debate Scott Horton's points. Oh, interesting.
You know what? I know for a fact that Scott Horton could debate Ben Shapiro's points. I know he could.
Yeah, you're probably right. I mean, what would Ben say on the other side? I hate Jews and I hope they're all destroyed. Like, what is he going to say? Because isn't that what he says already?
This is exactly why he's disingenuous and a piece of shit, is that if he was forced to take the other side, he would purposely make boneheaded statements along those lines of, well, because he's still arguing his own side, even though he's not supposed to be. He's setting up, he's straw manning. He's saying that, well, the only way you could possibly disagree with me is you must want the destruction of Israel. Now, that may be true in Alan Mosley's case, but for a lot of people's cases, they're not all anti-Semites. They just think you shouldn't be keeping 2 million people in an open-air prison and slaughtering their children.
Man, I did not go into this thinking that we were even going to talk about this, but here we are.
I don't want to talk about this, but we're not really talking about this. We're talking about Ben Shapiro.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was saying. I didn't even want to even, but now that it's here,
I bet you know what? Knowing Ben Shapiro, I bet he has a lot of opinions that we would find repulsive, not that have nothing to do with Israel.